today we're going back to the part that we not finished yet. That is on the not this one, on this Yasodhara, right? The number 4 I sent to you. Okay, now we have go through some of the text. Yeah. Now there's some difference between Theravada and Mahayana. The main difference is the way they see Bodhisattva. Like we see Bodhisattva as, in Theravada, we see Bodhisattva as something very difficult to do, right? That's why we say Bodhisattva refer to the Buddha, means that he on the path of enlightenment, we call him Bodhisattva. From very far from the beginning of the Pankara Buddha, then up to the Tushita heaven. And also, we also recognize there are many types of Buddha. And the future Buddha, we call him Maitreya Buddha, right? Now, but the main key point is we say Buddha is something that very rare. It's not for everybody. So we don't call ourselves Bodhisattva. But in Mahayana viewpoint, sometimes they make it more general. Okay. They say everybody can be a Bodhisattva. Everybody had the they call it the seed of enlightenment. Okay. And they have the idea of this Arhan path is for those who are less competent. Means that if they are more competent, they can be upgrade from the Arhan to the Buddha. Okay, so that's the idea here. So, and with the idea of Nibbana, so not a lot of people are interested in Nibbana because Nibbana is, even though it end of suffering, Nibbana is cessation of Namarupa, mind body. Okay, so that's why perhaps through the influence of Mahayana, so the idea of bodhisattva idea, people are more interested because they feel that they want to save the world. In a way, we call it save the world. Save the world means that if you go for Nibbana, means that you attend as Arahant, you go to Nibbana. So your life is dedicated to just practice meditation. You live in a very secluded life, practice hard. But nowadays, with more different idea, people feel that maybe they should sacrifice themselves more, right? So that's why a lot of people are more interested in the bodhisattva idea, even nowadays. Okay, now, and the need became fear for a work to explain practical manner the factors and phrase of paramita path, right? So during that time, because of different ideas already, so that's why there are some ideas and some people want to know what is really the meaning of paramita. Okay, what expounding Bodhisattva carry abounded in Mahayana schools, since this was their excel concern, but comparable work was lacking in Theravada circle. To meet this need, Acharya Dhammapala composed this book, Treatise of Paramids. So the set of 10 Paramids came itself from the Buddha Vamsa, right? This is the book I think most of us never read. And also from Jataka and also Visuddhimagga. Now, where is this book? You find in the Tipitaka, right? But it's not the common one. Normally, we know okay. So we know Dikkanakaya, long length discourse, middle length discourse, connected discourse. All these are translated into English, very easy to read. Anguttara, yes, we know these 4, we call it the solid teaching of the Buddha. Then there are some word we call it under Kuttaka Nikaya. You find Dhammapada, story of Vimana is a story of deities, like Moggallana go to heaven, he see the deities. Then Peta, story of ghosts. Then the verse of Thera and Theri, monks and nun, elders, and Appamada. And Jataka story I mentioned last week about the story about Buddha born as animal. Then we have this Buddha Wangsa here. So in Buddha Vamsa, there are many like different type of Buddha, Kondaya Buddha, Mangala Buddha, Sumana Buddha, Revata Buddha, and so on. Okay. So the source of Buddhas coming from this one, Buddha Vamsa Pali. And also Visuddhimagga also, right? Yeah. So these are 10 paramis mentioned in this one. As I mentioned last week, if you really want to read, you can go for the book Chronicle, the Great Chronicle, written in Burmese, translated to English. There's also another one. So another book maybe we call it the modern equivalent. So modern, quite modern, I say the Great Chronicle. Okay, by the Vichita, I think it's in Sarang, Vivangsa. It's the first Tipitaka Sayadaw. Means he memorized the whole Tipitaka, right? So it's very rare to a Tipitaka because the Buddhist text actually is a lot, right? So this is another modern book. You can find lots of information, a lot of information. So in established Theravada tradition, the paramis are not regarded as a discipline peculiar to candidates for Buddhahood alone, but as practices which must be fulfilled by all aspirants to enlightenment and deliverance, whether as Buddhas, Pachaka Buddhas, and disciples. All right, now when we talk about paramis, just now we chant the 10 paramis, not just mentioned for the Buddhas. So anybody, even like us, disciples, or Pachaka Buddha, right? So we have three types of Buddhahood. I think I mentioned last week already. Now, Buddhas means he can teach. Pachika Buddha is also a kind of Buddha, but cannot teach. Disciples means must listen to a teaching of Buddha, either from the Buddha or from the any disciple of Buddha, right? So we have 10 Parami here. Now, 10 Parami, this is in Pali. How are you going to remember the Pali? All right. So I teach you the shortcut way, the way I remember DSN PVK SAM. Right? So remember like this. Dana, Sila, Nikama, Panya, Viriya, Kanti, Satya, Aditana, Metta, Ubeka. All right. So D, Dana. C, S, Sila. All right. Nikama means renunciation. So the list is given down there. You can see. Panya is wisdom. Viriya is effort. Kanti is patience. Satya is truth. Aditana is determination. Metta is metta. Ubeka is equanimity. Okay, now we start to read. And remember, this is not something that belong to Buddha, but we also can practice. All right. So three types of enlightenment: Samma Sambuddha, Pachika Buddha, and Arahant. So we already mentioned last week. And to be a Samasa Buddha, you need to fulfill three levels. So Parami, Upa Parami, Paramata Parami. So means for any Buddha to be future Samasa Buddha, need to fulfill 10 Parami up to giving up external possession. And also by sacrificing body parts or endure extreme hardship. But only Paramata is much more difficult, willing to give life out of compassion. All right. So that is a Sama Sambuddha. For Pacheko Buddha, only two. Okay. So there is so for Pacheka Buddha, so this is the notes we given before. So only two levels. All right. So there is a Parami and Upa Parami. And for Arahant, or means you want to be a disciple of the Buddha, you only need one level. So you just need the normal parami. So it's not so difficult. So for us, if you want to be just a Buddha disciple, you can just fulfill the 10 parami by giving away the external material possession. Okay. So it is quite clear. So That means that you don't need to all the time give up your life if you want to be just become Arahant. Okay. But if you want to sama some Buddha, you want to practice the Bodhisattva path, you have to give up your life. You have to sacrifice your body parts, or you have to endure the hardship. Okay, now. So this is a revision for previous class, right? And right now we continue to read the text today. So we have to finish this right today. Okay, Thomas, since you are joining us today, you can read this one.
Number 1, giving is started at the beginning, A, because it is common to all beings, since even ordinary people practice giving. B, because it is the least fruitful, and C, because it is the easiest to practice. Second, virtue is stated immediately after giving. A, because virtue purifies both the donor and the recipient. B, to show that while giving benefits others, virtue prevents the affliction of others. C, in order to state a factor of abstinence immediately after a factor of positive activity. And D, in order to show the cause for the achievement of a favorable state of future existence right after the cause for the achievement of wealth. 3. Renunciation is mentioned immediately after virtue. A, because renunciation perfects the achievement of virtue. B, in order to list good conduct of mind immediately after good conduct of body and speech. C, because meditation, jhana, succeeds easily for one who has purified his virtue. D, in order to show that the purification of one's end, asaya, through the abandoning of the offensive mental defilements, follows the purification of one's means, payoga, by the abandoning of offensive actions. And E, to state the abandoning of mental obsessions immediately after the abandoning of bodily and verbal transgressions.
Okay, thank you. All right, so among the 10 parami, the easiest one will be dana, giving. You know why? Because it's like if you got extra, let's say if you got 1,000, you give 1 ringgit or $1, it's also considered giving. If you get 100, you give 1 ringgit is also giving. So that's why giving is very easy. It's like sometimes whatever you have, you just share with others. Okay. And remember, this is coming from the commentary, right? That's why I say less fruitful. All these are his opinion. Okay. All right. There's an easier one. Now, sila is a little bit difficult because we are thinking about like 5%. Not everybody also can fulfill 5%. That's why after dana is sila. But one thing about sila is good is that it purifies, because we call it sila is like make your mind pure. So a good person with good morality, his mind is pure. So that's why it purifies. All right. All these are extra point, a lot of points. Okay. So anyway, it's good to read. Now, renunciation means, okay, after sila, you start to abandon, right? Abandoning. Now, what kind of renunciation? So normally renunciation is, let's say in practically way, so like going to be monks and nuns is one kind of renunciation under your parami. But actually renunciation is also means that you let go the unwholesome things, right? Abandon the defilements in the mind, abandon the defilements in the offensive actions, all right? So any bodily and verbally means that let go of our bad behavior, right? So it's actually something linked with the sila. Due to sila, then it's easy to have renunciation. Okay, so when you see the these parami, you can see how they are linking with each other. Okay. Okay, Leonard who? Can read this one? Yes.
4. Wisdom is mentioned immediately after renunciation. A. Because renunciation is perfected and purified by wisdom. B. To show that there is no wisdom in the absence of meditation jhana, since concentration is the proximate cause of wisdom, and wisdom the manifestation of concentration. C. In order to list the causal basis for equanimity immediately after the causal basis for serenity. And D. To show that skillful means in working for the welfare of others springs from meditation directed to their welfare. Number 5. Energy or effort is stated immediately after wisdom. A. Because the function of wisdom is perfecting by the arousing of energy. B. To show the miraculous work the Bodhisattva undertakes for the welfare of beings after he has reached reflective acquiescence in their emptiness. C. To state the causal basis for exertion right after the basis for equanimity. And D. To state the arousing of energy right after the activity of careful consideration, according to the statement. The activity of those who have carefully considered brings excellent results. 6. Patience is mentioned immediately after energy. A. Because patience is perfected by energy. As it is said, the energetic man, by arousing his energy, overcomes the suffering imposed by beings and formations. B. Because patience is an adornment of energy. As it is said, the patience of the energetic man shines with splendor. C. In order to state the causal basis for serenity immediately after the basis for exertion, for restlessness due to excessive activity is abandoned through reflective acquiescence in the Dharma. D. In order to show the perseverance of the man of energy, since one who is patient and free from restlessness perseveres in his work. E. In order to show the absence of craving for rewards in a bodhisattva diligently engaged in activity for the welfare of others. For there is no craving when he reflects on the Dharma in accordance with actuality. And F. To show that the bodhisattva must patiently endure the suffering created by others, even when he is working to the utmost for their welfare.
Okay, thank you. Okay, here is actually many points. I just highlight the point which I think is important, all right? Because there are so many points here. All right, so first we know the dana, then sila, then renunciation means let go the bad action, bad bodily action, and then you need the wisdom to perfect, to pure. Then you need effort. Now, actually, effort means work hard. There are many things why we hurt. So for Bodhisattva, because he's so during the time when he met the so we go back to the story here. Okay. Now we know the story that when he met the Dipankara Buddha, right? When he met the Dipankara Buddha. So at that time actually he has the potential, he had the potential to become Arahant. So to be a future Buddha, the person must have be the potential to be Arahant. But when he saw the Sumedha, I think when I check all your answer, you all forget. Most of you say Dipankara give prediction that uh, Sumita will be the Yasodhara. But I think most of you or some of you forget also Sumedha was given the prediction that he will be the future Buddha at the same time. All right. So Sumedha have the potential to be Arahant, but he didn't want to be Arahant. Because why? Because of the great compassion in him. Okay. So that's the reason of why he left the Arahantship path and continued to be the Sama Sambuddha. Right. That's why he need to have lots of effort, you know. If you want to save the world, you need effort. You cannot just stay quiet. He must go sacrifice his life. He must go to help people. Like we saw the story earlier on, there was one story about he was a monkey king. There was one story. Okay, now remember the story, he was a monkey king. So yeah, so then the monkey were trapped by the human hunter. They were surrounded. So actually they're living in the forest. So then the human hunter came, surrounded them. So they cannot jump from one tree to another. So that's why he need to use his own body to create a bridge for his entire troop to escape to the other side. So the monkey actually trampled over him, including the Devadatta. So Devadatta was very jealous since that time, even before this time. Devadatta purposely trampled on him, you know. So you can see many stories when he was at the Bodhisattva, he need to use not only his wisdom, he also need to have lots of body energy, mental energy to save beings, you know. So we can see this story. This is one of the very interesting Jataka story. Okay, so we go back just now, all right? So you need uh, effort and you also need patience. Patience means there will be suffering definitely to fulfill our parami or for the bodhisattva to fulfill parami. There will be lot of suffering. He need to persevere and also must accept the suffering. That's the main key point. Now, when we say patient, what's the meaning of patient? Patient means you accept your suffering. When you got leg pain, body pain, so what should you do? You cannot all the time with small pain go and see the doctor. So you just have to accept the pain. All right. So that's how we do. Okay, now 7. Okay. So we ask maybe today ask the Venerable Lotus. Yes, you can join us. Yes. Yeah, you need to unmute. Okay, you can read here. Okay, I think she's not able. All right, then we go for next person. What? Chia Xin. All right, you read the 7, Chia Xin. Yes.
Yes, sir. 7, truthfulness is stated immediately after patience. A, because the determination to practice patience continues long through truthfulness. B, having first mentioned the patient endurance of wrongs inflicted by others, to mention next fidelity to one's word to render them help. C, in order to show that a bodhisattva who through patience does not vacillate in the face of abuse, through truthful speech does not relinquish his antagonist, and D, to show the truthfulness of the knowledge developed through reflective acquiescence in the emptiness of beings. 8. Determination is stated immediately after truthfulness. A, because truthfulness is perfected by determination, seems abstains from falsehood becomes perfect in one whose determination is unshakable. B, having first shown non-deception in speech, to show next unshakable commitment to one's word, for bodhisattva devoted to truth proceeds to fulfill his vows of giving without wavering. And C, to show right after the veracity of knowledge, the complete accumulation of the requisites of enlightenment for his sambara, for one who knows things as they really are, determines upon the requisites of enlightenment and brings them to completion by refusing to vacillate in the face of the opposites.
Okay, thank you. Right.
Thank you.
So first, there's before that patient. Patient means then truthfulness. Truthfulness means here is a lot of words, but actually truthfulness just we can sum up in 2 words. Okay, first, telling truth. That's one key point. Another one is non-concealment. So for example, when people ask you, do you see this? You say, yes, I see this. Yeah, that's right. Because you're telling the truth. Now, if people tell you, do you see this? You say no, means you conceal the truth, right? Conceal something that is in existence. So we can generally say very simple statement. Or we say, is it yes? Then you say yes. Is it no? Then you say no. All right, very simple. And also means that people with patience, they will not change even if people abuse you or threaten you. So they just be honest. So in the Buddha's time, there's one we call it the Bodhisattva story about he promised we call it a uh, a man eater. He said, I will come after uh I listen to Dhamma talk, then I will come back. So really true. After he listened to Dhamma talk, he came to be eaten. That's the story. So he promised he will come back even though he would be eaten. That's his truthfulness. So determination means it's determination. So Beckett simply means unshakable. Your mind is unshakable. You don't waver. Okay, non-waver. So for example, you feel that I want to do a good job, especially wholesome thing. So we should fix the mind. So no matter how difficult of the goal or many problem, we just continue. So the mind is unshakable, not changing. So that's the thing. Yeah. This one, non-commitment to one's word. So it's like you promise yourself. Okay, you promise yourself. You say, I will do it. Yes. So you try to do it. Okay, next one will be easy. Loving kindness. Sister Ivy. Yes.
Number 9, loving kindness is mentioned immediately after determination. A, because loving kindness perfects the determination to undertake activity for the welfare of others. B, in order to list the work of actually providing for the welfare of others, right after stating the determination to do so, for one determined upon the requisite of enlightenment habits in loving kindness. And C, because of the undertaking of activity for the welfare of others, proceed imperfectly only when determination is unshakable. Then, equanimity is mentioned immediately after loving kindness. Because equanimity purified loving kindness. B, in order to show the indifferent one must maintain towards the wrong inflicted by others when one is provided for their welfare. C, having mentioned the development of loving kindness, to state the next development of the quality which involved from it. And D, to show the Bodhisattva wonderful virtue of remaining impartial even towards those who wish him well. Do I continue?
Oh yeah.
Thus
Some
the
more, yeah?
sequence.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, continue, yeah.
Thus
the
the
sequence.
sequence of the paramis should be understood as explained.
Okay, thank you. So we finish here. All right. Simply, we talk about loving kindness means we thinking about the welfare of others. This means that we don't think about ourselves. So actually, when we see the 10 parami, we are talking about uh, it's like besides consider our own good point, we also consider about others, especially loving kindness. Means that we don't think that we don't look at our own needs or our own wishes. So we see how we can help people. There's a loving kindness for other welfare. Now, equanimity is the last one. That is the most difficult to practice. Among the 10 parami, the easiest one will be dana. The difficult one will be last one. Last one because is beside towards human being, all right? So economy we can practice to like in a four Brahma Vihara, in the as four Brahma Vihara, we have equanimity. This means that we have metta, karuna, mudita, and upekha. So this one. So this is as towards sentient beings. So means our attitude towards beings, whether they are good to us or bad to us, we remain indifferent and impartial. So even though somebody harm you, you're also indifferent. Somebody also good to you, you're also impartial. So as a four Brahma Vihara. But this is more difficult practice as Vipassana. Because as Vipassana means we let go all formation. Okay? All formation means all the good things or bad things, all the mental things happen, whether good or bad. You know, today you hear the good news, you have to let go. You hear the bad news, you also let go. You have pain, itch, you also let go. You have joy, happiness, you also let go. So as a vipassana is much more difficult to practice. As a four Brahma Vihara is only towards sentient beings. All right, so that's the equanimity. So in summary, in the 10 parami, the easiest one will be dana, giving. Okay. The most difficult one will be this so equanimity. Okay. So this will be the last most difficult. Okay. Most difficult. Right? Because dana is very easy. Okay. 100 you give one. 1,000 you give one. Anything you give is considered dana. Even you give one little bit a small food to one bird, to one cat or dog, it's still dana. Easy. But equanimity is more difficult because to all good people, people who are done good to you or people who done bad to you, you have to remain equanimous. Okay. And as a practice of vipassana, it's not easy. Everything you just have to let go. Actually, if you understand the nature of thing, everything is anicca, dukkha, anatta. So if you can see everything anicca, dukkha, anatta, it's actually much more easy to let go. That's why the 10 parami, to be equanimity, you also need to have wisdom. Okay. So to have wisdom, to get wisdom, you need to be patient in your meditation. You need to make effort to aware of the formation, right? You also need to renounce all the bad things, renounce your comfort in life. That's why sometimes we go to meditation center. Why? It's because life is too comfortable at home. It's difficult to practice at home. The moment you sit down, you think about, oh, my fridge, I got ice cream. My fridge, I got food, whatever. But in meditation center, you cannot eat when you want to eat. Okay. And when the rings bell, the bell ring, you have to go to meditation hall about 4 o'clock in the morning. You know, some place where practice vipassana 4 a.m. in the morning. At home, 4 a.m. is what? It's a bad time, right? It's the time you're still sleeping. All right. So renunciation is not easy. And now, as a lay person, what can you practice? Yes, you can practice giving anytime you give alms round. Anytime you give 5 precept or 8 precept, all right? Or you start to renounce, let go all the unwanted things, uh, let go all the bad behavior. Now, you start to fulfill wisdom by listening to Dhamma talk, practice meditation, you practice effort in meditation, also be more diligent in your life. Like your body is not well, so you make effort to do walking, to do sitting, This also need effort. Patient means you'll be patient with tolerance to anything, good or bad. Truthful, by keeping 5 precepts, you non-concealing of can say of form, also can. All right. So truthfulness, yes, and then determination. Once you say you want to do something, you try to do it. This is also determination. Like meditation is very easy. You determine, you sit 1 hour, so you try. Cannot sit out 1 hour, you sit half an hour. So cannot sit, you walk. All right. So as long as you practice mindfulness, you have some determination. Loving kindness to yourself, to your family members, and so on, to the monastic people, and so on. Okay, so we finished the 10 parami. So any question about here? While you're thinking about questions, so we look at the 28 Buddhas. Now, where you can find 28 Buddhas for the Buddha Wangsa? There are many Buddhas, 28. Sometimes we call it 24 Buddhas. Why? Sometimes last time I was also confused. Why is it sometimes 28 Buddhas and 24 Buddhas? Because if we calculate from the current Buddha, Gautama, he received the prophecy from the Dipankara Buddha. So if you calculate like this, there will be 24. And if you add on 24, 25, 27, yeah, if you add on all the way to Tanghakara, so we consider as 28 Buddhas. So you can do search online. It's easy to get 28 Buddhas. This one we don't know the match. The one we know is always the Dipankara. Okay. And the last one we know is because the Kasapa, Konama, Kansa, all these are very near to us. Seki, Vipassi. So these are very distant past Buddhas. All right. All right. So any question on Parami before we jump to next topic? And in the Chakrawati Sutta, long discourse. So we have in this sutta, now he say here, when the human life, so the human life will be like for 100, for many thousand years now, drop to 100, after that become lower and lower. After that, when people start to do good, then the increased lifespan will be increased to 2,800, 8,000, 80,000. So the lifespan can be as many as 80,000. So when 80,000, then everything is so prosperous. Okay. And then it's said in this sutta, so the next Buddha, Metteyya Buddha, will arise in the world. Perfect, fully enlightened. Same. So it's at that time 80,000. Okay, so in this sutta. Right, so it's actually in this sutta is confirmed that we know the future Buddha. That's why in Chinese we have the Mi Le Fo from this name, Mi Le Fo. In Chinese we call it Mi Le Fo, but actually it's not Mi Le Fo, it's Mi Le Pusa. Because he is not a Buddha yet. Okay? He's not a Buddha yet. So we call it Mi Le Pusa. So we call it Metteyya Bodhisattva. Now where is he now? He already fulfilled his parami. Now he go to the Tushita, waiting for the right time, right moment, right word, right condition, right mother, and so on. That means that he will wait for the human lifespan to be 80,000. Okay, 80,000. So now our lifespan is not 80,000. So he will not come. Because also another reason, we have the current Buddha. So even though now the Gautama Buddha is no more, but the teaching of Gautama Buddha is still here. That's why this Buddha will never appear. So there's a difference between Theravada and Mahayana. Because Theravada, we know that there are many Buddhas in the past, but all these Buddha already passed All these Buddha already no more. So current Buddha is Gautama Buddha. All right. So 28 Buddha is not appearing at the same time. All these are past Buddha. Means that they already not in the world. Okay. Right. Okay. Any question before we continue to the next topic?
Actually, I have two questions.
Okay.
Okay, the first one
Yes.
is regarding Venerable Sumedha. So basically, I read that I also heard that since Sumedha fulfilled all the conditions to be Arahant, so why he didn't become Arahant? Okay, because
Oh,
to
yeah.
me it's very simple. It's really like ticking boxes. Okay, he has this, he has that, he fulfilled that criteria, that condition. So all conditions, all criteria fulfilled. I thought
Mhm.
by right is automatically become one already. It should be regarded as one. But
Yeah. Yes, he has the condition to become Arahant, but it doesn't mean that he's Arahant. Okay.
so in other
Means
words,
that
it's like,
he has the spiritual maturity. He has enough. So we are talking in terms of parami because the topic is parami, right? So this means that he fulfilled his 10 parami. 10 parami, not 30 parami, He has fulfilled his 10 parami. He has the condition to become Arahant. Okay? But he's not Arahant. He's not Arahant yet. Okay. But at the time he see the Dipankara, he saw the Dipankara. The Dipankara Buddha. Okay, now just imagine. Okay, we just put a simile. Let's say you all like Sam, like Sumedha, you have the opportunity to practice vipassana until you become a arahant, a disciple of the Dipankara Buddha. Okay, because the Buddha was there at the time. But when you see the Dipankara Buddha with many arahants, monks behind him, and the Buddha looks so glory, so beautiful, so holy, how do you feel? There's a few opportunity. You see the arahant, your mind think that I want to be arahant, or your mind see the Buddha, you feel that I want to be a Buddha. Okay, so it depends on your mind. Do you get the point or not?
so okay, so I mean for logical and simple understanding, so even though
Right,
I took the boxes, so like for example, like
right.
playing a video game. So okay, now you have
Mm-hmm.
achieved this stage. You can go to route A and route B. So
Yeah,
click on A or B, something like that, right?
mhm. Yeah. I mean that is in terms of you're talking about games or whatever, right?
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I'm talking about in terms of human mentality. All right. So when you see the Buddha and you see the Arahant, because when the Buddha was in front, behind him got thousands of Arahant. So the Sumedha ascetic, he made himself as a lay down, as a bridge. He let his body walk by many Buddhas and then the Arahant. So if anybody, a lot of people walk on him, he will die. That's why he was willing to sacrifice his life for the Buddha at that time. Okay, so in terms of mentality, either you have few choice. When you look at Arahant, you want to be. Now we study the disciples of the Buddha. Many times they see a disciple say, I want to be the foremost in wisdom, like Sariputra, because he saw an Arahant foremost in wisdom. So the Moggallana in the past, he saw Arahant foremost in psychic power. So he want to be same. Okay, so also, so imagine you when you see the Buddha or see Arahant. So if your mind inclined to be a Buddha and you make a wish, may I become the Buddha. And in Theravada Buddhism, you need a kind of like cert. Cert means you need a Buddha. You need to be in a physical presence of a living Buddha who make a prediction. Yes, you will be the future Buddha. So that was happened at that time. And then the girl, the Sumita, so she saw him fall in love with him and gave him the flowers. Okay. Yeah. So it's not that you see this is either one or two. It depends on human mentality. That's why human mentality is very confused. Confused in a way means that our mind can change very fast from one moment to another moment. All right. But we can take it as parami, as path in life. Because keeping 5 precepts, you already done already, right? Noble Eightfold Path, you also try to practice. Four Noble Truth, you try to understand as much. Then what else to practice? So the practice is 10 parami. So if you want to be more higher, you go for upa parami, second level. If you want to be more higher, you go for paramata parami. Okay. Okay, next question.
The next question is because I read that there are 28 Buddhas altogether. So
Yeah.
I mean from historically, from what I understand, right? So Buddha lived in the 6th or 5th century. So BCE, 6
Oh,
5.
yeah.
So before that, there were like, I mean, in terms of human civilization, so there were, I think around 10,000 BCE lah. So when humans actually have a civilization. So when you mentioned 28 Buddhas altogether, right? So they appear in this world. I mean, but that time the civilization of human being
Okay.
just
All
started
right.
to develop.
Okay. Right. We are talking about the world, right? 10,000 actually is very short time, even though to us it's about. So we have this, we call it the Pada Kappa. Okay. You all can check. Now, Vada Kappa is, we call it the Aeon. It's in a one life cycle. So we are very fortunate in this life cycle, means that from beginning of the universe to the end of the universe, now we are still in the same universe, same world cycle. So we have 4 Buddhas with the Gautama Buddha. And Maitreya Buddha will come before the end of the world. So that means that the end of the world will not happen. Okay, because we have 5 Buddhas in this world cycle. So if you're talking about like 10,000 civilization, yeah, as long as they are in this same world cycle, they might, but all these Buddha are very, very far from each other, It's not like 10,000, it may be hundreds of billions of time life cycle. All right. So anyway, you just need to remember in the same life cycle, we have 4 Buddhas already come, and the next Buddha will happen. So that's why we believe there will not be end of the world. Like last time they predict 2000 is end of the world, right? And previous prediction 1997 is end of the world. But as a Buddhist, we believe the end of the world will not come until the last Buddha appear and disappear. Then there will be end of the world. Okay, so we call it the Bada Kappa.
Age, dark ages, dark age, Vasaji.
Dark age will not happen. Dark age will not happen because we are in the same world circle. But
After
in between,
Metteyya.
in between, of course, when Buddha disappear, another Buddha. So we call it, how we call it? Dark age. How do we call it? There will be one in between. There will be like one Buddha to another Buddha. There will be empty of Buddha, but it's still in the same world cycle. Okay, same world cycle means that in the same universe, we're talking about this. So between one Buddha to another one, there will be a place where there's no Buddha. So at that time, there will be a lot of Pachika Buddha will appear. Okay. All right. Okay, we will have some 5 minutes break before we continue. All right.